So this is my first time to be at an Angel Boot Camp sponsored by Queen City Angels, so thank you for the invitation. I am always excited and even inspired when I see folks like you gathered together, curious and eager to be educated around, I would say, a critical part of the economy of this area. Which is not to say that big companies and small business aren't doing well, because they are. Kroger's results were outstanding this last quarter. Rodney and the team are knocking it out of the park. New businesses, small businesses are popping up all over and over the Rhine and other areas. But what we're here to talk about are high growth, technology-based or technology-enabled businesses that I feel strongly about relative to the future of this economy. And that is one of the reasons I came, is to help take the effort and move it forward very quickly. Not kind of stew in our own juices and wonder and think about it and over-investigate it, to know that entrepreneurship relative to high growth, technology-based entrepreneurship has tipped. It's on its way, as evidenced by accelerators all over the U.S., businesses, growing like topsy in the technology category. So thank you, and I want to thank Queen City Angels. I mean, without your involvement in the community, there would be a real void relative to capital. So I appreciate all the work you guys do to keep your capital fresh and to make sure that you're looking at these, at the deals that you get from wherever they come from. So that's a little bit of the background. So that's my thank you. From a personal standpoint, I've been here a little less than 100 days. I joined Centrifuge from a startup life in San Francisco. I'm not from San Francisco. I'm not a Silicon Valley executive, as some people like to refer to me. I lived there for 8 years. I made angel investments while there. I led a venture-backed startup called Get Satisfaction there. So for the 8 years I was there, it was like getting a PhD in startup life. That's how I refer to it, right? I don't have my master's, never wanted it, don't have my PhD educationally, but when it came to where I was and what I was doing, it was like non-stop, 24/7. My head and my heart in this game called startup life. And it was through that experience that I knew it was time for me not just to pay it forward and be nice. This is not a philanthropic decision to come here. My tour of duty is not about philanthropy. My tour of duty in Cincinnati is much more significant than that. I do want to apply what I learned, but I want to make sure the application of that knowledge and learning speeds things up here, because I think we're walking at a snail's pace, and I think we could go faster and even do all the due diligence required. And I think as a result, we'd have more jobs, we'd have more students staying here, more people coming back, right? And the whole place would just be more vibrant. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, right? Now, my background. One of the gentlemen was asking me, what's your education and what's your whatever. Have I've never been an executive for a big company, ever. Just haven't. I probably would never qualify. I have an undergraduate degree in business from Ole Miss. So this is not Wharton, it's not Harvard, it's not any of those. So I went to Ole Miss, and no, we aren't known for our educational curriculum. We're known for partying, having fun. I did a lot of that when I was young, and still try to do some of that now. But I'm an entrepreneur, pure and pure. Right, that's it. And the main phase of my life in entrepreneurship was as a bootstrapped entrepreneur. I took no one else's money. So who financed the business I was in were customers, and they were the largest tech companies in the world. IBM, Microsoft, SAP, that caliber of company, they were our customers. And it was a services business. It wasn't a technology business. And we grew it. There were 5 of us that were founders. We grew it from 0 to 50 million in about 8 years, and we sold it for 250 million in stock to a software company. We did not plan that sale. We didn't hire an investment banker. We weren't that smart. All we were doing is every day getting up, doing our work with large tech companies, selling services that help them be more effective in a certain area, and happen to be sales and go-to-market. I only share that story with you because that part of my life was all about growing a business, but in a different way. We didn't have a board, right? We didn't even have a bank loan, honestly, because it was a cash-rich business and we worked our butts off. And we had people around the world, 250 employees. And at the end, we grew it inorganically, meaning we started buying small companies. That's how we did it. I just want you to know there are lots of ways to do it. And as you're meeting entrepreneurs, just know that there are lots of ways to do it. I'm very respectful for guys who want to, and women who want to do it that way. Now, the venture-backed world is just completely different. And so you're more of that kind of world, using other people's money that we want in our deals so we can grow them. And there's a lot of different requirements around that, right? A lot of different requirements. So I'm glad that you're getting educated on that. And I only became an angel investor, by the way, after I had money. Because I had no money until I had money. Does that make sense? Because I was working, I had no money. Because every penny I had, I put back in the business. I hired people, opened offices, etc. I had no money. I had no retirement plan. I didn't even know what that was. When people tell me they're getting a package from P&G, I'm like, huh? I'm like, really? Okay, cool. What is that? I mean, great, I guess. But so when I had money, though, I decided that I wanted to do some angel investing. Not just because I thought it would be cool, and I'm going to talk more about that in the presentation. So I do have some experience, but even in 2 hours here, I learned a lot. So that shows you there's a lot of headroom here of things I can do better with. So just as context. So here we go. Formally into the presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship, but around Startup Cincy. I'm going to talk about Centrifuge very quickly, just so you'll understand the role we play in working with you, because I want you to come engage with us as well. Then I'm going to talk about the benefits of being an angel, in my view, which is going to sound very different from what you've heard up here, right? I'm just a different kind of angel, and I don't mean that in a sweet way, right? I'm just a different kind of angel. And then I have some asks for you, some things I really would like to get you involved in. So the first thing I want you to know about Centrifuge is that Centrifuge is part of a strategy that the city leaders, both civic, foundation leaders, and business leaders created. And this is about 3 years ago. And Tim Schiggle's in the room. He's going to be on the panel later. He has an awesome background, much better than mine relative to venture capital and things like that. But he was also part of that initial thinking. I mean, it was all about the city leaders saying, where's our future growth? That's where it came from. There was a committee about growth and innovation. And there was a McKinsey report. Some of you may have heard that. And they're like, okay, where's the future of our region? Where's it going to come from? Now, Jonna Reeder's trying to attract big businesses here to the region. Rock on, Jonna. We love Reddy and what she's doing. But this was a different animal. And these companies put money down where their mouth was, where their aspirations were. They put in somewhere between 68 and $70 million in this effort, with a fund of funds, with an operating budget for a small staff, and for a building. That's a huge investment. So I want you all, as part of the region, to know that these guys really were serious about this effort. And therefore, Tim and I are, right? And I appreciate them. And every day, they express to me more desire to encourage startups to come here, learn here, and thrive here. And that's an awesome thing for your city leaders to want to do. And so you should be proud. You're known for the company you keep. And trust me, I've had this morning 4 phone calls because Bob McDonald's in town and he's one of the guys that recruited me to say, Look, we're so excited. We're so excited about Startup Cincy. Thank you for helping out. So it's pretty cool. It's a big effort. Now, what I find interesting in Cincinnati, and I'm really trying to calibrate, right? I'm really trying to calibrate. And I don't think you look like this, so I'm not trying to be negative. But I'm trying to calibrate because in California, you know, entrepreneurship is not that formal, even though they take other people's money a lot and lose it a lot. Eek, they do. But it's not that formal. People are just kind of hanging out doing it. That's what they do. It's not so formal. And so there are a lot of the ways that people come up with ideas. Some of them are wacky and goofy. And then they turn into Airbnb. And then they turn into Uber. And I'm not using those to sound cool. I happened to be around both of those in the early days when they were trying to raise money and they were sitting on a park bench in South Park. And people were like, well, that's a stupid idea. You can't disrupt the taxi industry. And who's going to sleep on someone's couch? I think those, I don't know, one's worth 20 billion, the other's worth 30 billion, just saying. That was 6 years ago. So what I want for us to have here is I want us to have that kind of risk, courage, guts. So when you see a couple of people hanging out in the park, just say, what are you thinking about? Think about it. Play around with it. Don't jump on them and say, well, what's your EBITDA? Because they don't know. They're just thinking. And they're trying to create something and have fun and maybe change the world, but maybe not. In fact, more will fail than not. That's important to understand. We in this region have to lean into failure not being bad. Now, I know you don't want to lose your money. I've lost some. I don't like losing it either. But I also have learned a lot and have experienced a lot of excitement, intellectually and emotional excitement, being around the effort. Because this is what's going to save the region, not another building that P&G puts up. Just saying. Right? I just feel strongly about it. So, this is what my world looks like. Here's another world, and there's a lot of in-between, right? And I dressed up for you guys, right? So I wouldn't look like some kind of grunge. Now, when I wake up in the morning, I don't have a crush on Conrad, but I just had to put his picture. He's the CEO of Framework, right? He's an awesome young guy. But when I wake up, I just want you guys to know, as the appointed priestess of Startup Cincy and the CEO of Centripedes, I don't think about going to P&G and Kroger. And I don't think about going to University of Cincinnati and meeting Santa, although Tim knows my calendar is filled with that kind of stuff. What I think about when I get up are more Conrads. What can I do and what can we do to attract these people, young and old? I'm old, have me here too, because I might have a good idea, right? But I want to attract them here because this is a special place. I think it's a very interesting place. It's very interesting. You've got a lot of culture, right? A lot more culture than I imagined. You have people engaged in the community. I've never gotten engaged in the community. I was too busy working or flying around doing my work, right? I love the fact that that's here. You have a lot of maker movement stuff. You have beer and bourbon, I'm learning. I mean, and pork too. How good can that get? And marathons, goodness sakes. And 4 universities. But we've got to attract them here. And once they come here, please don't rake them over the coals. And with all due respect and doing due diligence, and I know you have to, you have a responsibility to do that. Do not rake them over the coals. Do not make them feel dumb and small. Right? We have to nurture them. And I'm using Conrad as an example because I got an email from him this morning. You need to know this is part of the role that Tim and I play. He's working his butt off. And he's doing things he's never had to do before. And all he said to me this morning, will you walk with me in the park and listen to me? Because I'm stressed out. And by the way, I'm going to make room for that. Why? Because I need him to be successful. And he doesn't want to talk to his board about that, whoever is on his board. He wants to talk to someone who's not made payroll and who's had to shut down companies.